adventurous people. It's your boy Dre, and I'm here with Steve the Adventurer.
I guess I am the adventurer, aren't
I? I dubbed you one because we played a little thing called, there's my James Lipton again, we played a little thing called Live A Live.
Ooh,
And we have differing opinions on this. Typically, we come in here, we're usually of same frame of mind. We have some differences or whatever, but as far as these things go, we're fairly similar. This one might get a little dicey. I might say fuck.
You say fuck anyway.
Yeah, but I might say fuck at you.
You say fuck at me anyway.
I might say fuck and you in succession.
You say fuck and you in succession anyway.
We're going to assume if you're listening to this, you've played Live A Live. So big time spoilers, this whole podcast, just to let you know, if you care about that sort of thing and plan on playing the game, come back to this podcast when you've played it and you'll see if your opinions lined up with either one of ours. Secondly, if you're listening to this for some reason and you just want to hear us talk about the game, briefly, Steve, what the hell is Live A Live?
Well, hey, Live Alive was a JRPG released, I guess, at the height of the Super Famicom's relevance in 1994. You might remember 1994 for just being a kick-ass year for video games, so when this only sold 270,000 units, that wasn't very many, and, this would be a flop. No re-releases at all on PlayStation or nothing until Wii U and new 3DS Virtual Console.
In Japan.
Yeah, in Japan. That's why I opened with Super Famicom. We didn't see it over here in the United States, where the cheeseburgers live. You'd have to get a fan translation, and we all know how dicey those get.
I mean, is there even? I'm sure there is now one of Live A Live, but I remember back in the day, I would say like early 2000s when I was doing Trials of Mana before it was called that. I don't ever remember seeing a Live A Live fan translation.
When I was looking into different things for this show, yes, there is very much one now, but I wouldn't. Well, I mean, I guess you could if you were that curious on how the 16-bit version compares to this one, but I don't know. I feel like most of them are, unclean in their own way.
That is to say, we have never played the original Super Famicom version of Live A Live, so we cannot contrast and compare. Just to put that out there. What did you know about this game beforehand, if anything? Like for me, it feels like one of those games that I saw in Nintendo Power when they had the like Epic section or the RPG page. I don't know if you remember that. It was like mid-90s. Yeah. Okay. And like they would report on stuff coming out here, but they would also show stuff from Japan that we may or may not get. I feel like it was those pages that showed us Final Fantasy quote unquote 3, even though it was Final Fantasy 5 before it became Final Fantasy 6 came out of here as 3. I feel like that was a thing.
Yeah, I feel like a bunch of magazines had the whole only in Japan sections, and I am sure there was at least, it's not just Nintendo Power, I'm sure even a GamePro or Electronic Gaming Monthly had the thing with, here's an RPG with a cowboy and the funny-looking robot. Isn't this wacky and something you'll never get to play?
And we didn't until now. We maintain Twitter threads of games that we beat during the current year. We both do this. I think reading our respective post-game tweets on Live A Live will totally clue in the audience of how we're going to talk about this and approach this. So, Steve, you read what you wrote first.
Another miracle game pulled out of oblivion. Between the varied, fun, and sometimes funny vignettes, a battle system that makes you feel like a badass for figuring it out on its terms, and of course that HD 2D, it's a can't miss for RPG fans.
I said, your boy Dre said the following. Great ideas marred by too many scenarios that forget to respect the player. It's okay to be different, but it's not okay to throw common sense and balance out the window in favor of getting cute. Remakes are an opportunity to fix mistakes, and they didn't do it.
You're a dead man, Andre. The next time, taking the next plane over to the West Coast, and you're fucking dead.
Yeah, get on right now. Get on that plane. We'll wait for you.
Is something that would happen if we were not grown-ass adults who can respect each other's opinions.
I don't know how much I'm going to respect it, but I will listen to it. Yeah, I guess we're going to go through the 7 scenarios. We're going to touch on them all to varying degrees. Sometimes we'll have a lot to say. Sometimes we'll have a little to say. But we obviously played these in different order. And if we were a more prepared podcast, we would have listed the order that we played them in. But we're not that smart, so we didn't have that information. So we're just going to go through them chronologically. I guess that's the best way to do it, with bits and bobs in between.
That sounds about right.
Where did we start? 65 billion BC or something. I guess they don't really say years in this game, huh?
No, they just tell us prehistory, where a little cave boy named Pogo is coming of age, and he needs to hunt for his village, and he finds a nice girl, as you do.
Oh, he finds her all right. He finds her sexy.
I mean, of course he does. She's the only girl in the chapter.
Smurfette?
other than all the gorilla women that your partner finds.
Oh, he got laid like a ton, and you just have the one human lady, and there's like 5 gorilla ladies with like huge lipstick lips, like chasing him around, ready to suck his gorilla dick. I don't know how he's not worn out by the end of the thing.
He seemed to embrace it fully.
Yeah. And then the five monkey ladies all have a baby as well. I mean, he knocked all of them up. He went 5 for 5.
Again, he seems to be okay with this.
This was the second to last scenario I played. The last scenario I played was Wild West. So I found this really refreshing, that the pantomiming is, because, it's prehistory. There's no language. They just sort of grunt and groan. Give me your pogo. Give me your pogo real quick. Oh. And bad guys. I
like there's no shops, but you go hunting and you need to barter. You can barter your drops for other things or get weapons, but you don't talk to them. There's grunts and little speech bubbles to show up weapons and things like.
It's great. It's really great. I really enjoyed the attack names and flavor text and stuff. Because you're a caveman, you have a club or a spear or whatever. One attack, I forget even has it. Maybe the girl is called Bam Bam Bam. Hit one bad with club many time. It's just like hurt poop throw. Hurt many bad with smelly poop. They have to tell us the poop is smelly, otherwise we wouldn't understand.
Well, it might be, just one of those little weak poops that don't smell bad, and then you're just. I mean, it wouldn't be as effective as the poot attack where you fart in group.
Yeah, fart at group. Did it use the word fart, or did it just say poot?
Man, I forget.
I don't really have a whole lot to say about this chapter. It was cute. It was just a cute little caveman story, pantomiming and cool music. I'm going to be saying that for every chapter, but cool music.
The bad guys even have Flintstone cars, and I thought that was great.
Yeah, they did do that. You didn't see their feet running. Maybe the SNES didn't want to animate that, but like.
Also, I guess. No, that is a very distinct sound effect. They would have got sued to hell if they just lifted that from the folks at Hanna-Barbera.
Oh, like when their feet get scraping and they run or whatever. Yeah. I mean, we're not really going to rank these, but would you put this in the upper echelon of scenarios of the 7?
Easily, yes. Yeah, it's a fairly basic story. You're pretending you do hunt in sense that you have to sniff things out and get your encounters in that way. And in the end, there's a big scary dinosaur that the big cult is waking up. Oh boy, ooga booga, guys, ooga booga. But Chrono Trigger would have cave people a year later, and they talk to you, and it's not as endearing as this, I don't think, anymore.
Let's talk about the graphics real quick before we move on to another chapter, because I thought in this game, they weren't as good as some others that do this style. Like the sort of HD 2D thing, I'm still not really sold on that as a phrase, but I guess that's what it's called.
That's what they call it in-house. We got to go with it.
I mean, do we though? Anyway, it's fine. It relies on like careful application of like vignetting and like high contrast, right? And texture work. It makes it all go. The grass and the ground textures at times in Live A Live, particularly in prehistory, as we just talked about, and coming up in Imperial China, leave a lot to be desired compared to like Octopath Traveler or Triangle Strategy, or even like the few clips that we've seen of Dragon Quest III. Even that, I feel, is like looks better. I guess a good comparison is like, anyone out there who's ever played Octopath, look at the Red Rock Cliffs and like in the desert areas of Octopath, and then look at like the Wild West in Live A Live. I feel like the difference is pretty stark, Steve. It's just not the same level of polish.
Yeah, and it's a bit weird because one of the hooks, well, I would call it a hook if this sold more, of the original was that they actually pulled in different manga artists to do the 7 base chapter scenarios and designs and whatever. And no one was called back to work on this remake. And given the opinions of the guy who worked on the prehistory chapter, that might be for the best. But things look different by virtue of having to look different. It's not like completely samey, but it's more of a, it almost looks like how a Chrono Trigger HD 2D remake would look, as opposed to Live Alive was a grand experiment, and we're respecting it in that sense 20 years later. I don't hate it at all, but it's very hard to not think about what could have been here, especially when things like Octopath already stretched it out a bit further.
Yeah, it's just that this remake probably just didn't have the highest budget. I feel like most of the budget went to like voice acting, which is like really good, but like the graphics and stuff, obviously they didn't put the same level. I guess they don't have to, but it's definitely noticeable for sure. Let's talk about Imperial China, shall we? I think that's next in our order.
Yeah, I like this a lot because it's a martial arts movie stuffed into a JRPG. You're playing as the old Shifu, and it's a well-worn stereotype that Steve is not going to do a voice for. Please don't ask me to do the voice for it. We don't need to do Fine Time is Canceled Party. Thank you.
I will never leave that in the final edit if you ever did a voice like that.
And you recruit other martial arts stereotypes, including Hong, the big guy who bears a bit of a passing resemblance to Sammo Hung, and I won't be convinced otherwise. Do you know who that is? Or
Nope.
There's Lei, the strong, independent woman who doesn't need the Shifu, but won't say no to lessons, maybe. And then there's Yuan. I can never say his name right. Who, the plucky underdog who you can't rule out. You know, he's going to do something, and when he does, it's going to be good. And oh, gee whiz, it would sure be bad if something happened to this lovable band of misfits, right, Andre?
This is really a bummer, huh? This chapter. Boy. Especially since, like, they make you level them all up, or train them, if you will, individually, which, by the way, kind of takes forever. Like, I get what they were going for there. Train your disciples, build their attributes, but, like, you are just really training your disciples over and over for, like, what's got to be over an hour of just, like, constant, just, like, I'm fighting you again. You didn't think that was a little...
It was a... I mean, I understood what they were going for here. And as the movie stuffed in the game, I would have appreciated a bit more banter in between the sessions beyond, oh, gee whiz, the Shifu sure is kicking our asses.
Yeah, then that's all there was. I mean, I did enjoy Hong's attack names were about pepper and pork stir fry, right? We had pig's feet. I mean, of course I gave the guy all food, but I mean...
That was, well, the way you meet him is a very I am sure, I can't think of any right now, but there's got to be at least one weird 70s Hong Kong movie where there was a guy stealing food, and that's where they got that idea from.
Surely. There's no way they didn't.
That did not exist in a vacuum.
Anyway, I said it's a bummer earlier because they fucking die, or at least two of them die of the disciples, and then you're left with one. Wow, that bummed me out big time. Like, honestly, like I never saw that coming. It was so unceremonious too. Like the bad guys just bust in that house and the other two are dead.
So who lived?
That didn't bum you out?
No, it fucking did. But it kind of came out of nowhere too. You're in a village running on a wild goose chase, and then you have to run back and do a check-in on them. And that's how you find out. It's very unceremonious.
Yeah, it really, and motivating, I guess. It really easily the most emotional core of any of these chapters, I would say, unless you really got into the Wild West one, which I did too. Anyway, as for who lived, it was Ewan.
Yeah,
I mean, personally, and before you say yours, I didn't even think about the possibility that any of the three could live. I just figured they were just choosing one. And you better have guessed right of who to build up. I have no idea, but who lived in yours?
No, I also got Ewan, and I had no idea either until I looked it up later, which honestly I didn't hate until, well, something we'll have to really get into later. But it's a very strong motivator to the end where Shifu and the survivor have to go to the bad karate school on the other side of the valley there in a very Enter the Dragon-esque time to beat up all the bad disciples at karate with all the moves. You can almost hear all the, if this was like an actual movie, you can pretty much insert all the convenient broken wood and glass props and scenery nearby, because you're just wailing into these guys until you get into the final banquet room where it's like, I have another dozen. Aren't these people ridiculous?
Yeah. Well, did you notice like three of them were definitely like the three Chinese sisters from Strider for sure.
Jesus Christ.
They were. And then like two of them were definitely Billy and Jimmy Lee. Like that's I mean for sure. So I mean, I thought so. Anyway, I thought it was a little on the nose that they kicked the bad guy into the gong at the end, like right into the gong. Thought that was fun because, of course. Anyway, yeah. So we both got Ewan. Interesting.
And then he broke the boulder at the end.
Well, he had the shittiest stats, so I felt like it was the best to build him up, right? Like, is that what you did too? Because I was just looking at their stats. It's like, well, he doesn't have any defense. I better like. You know what I mean? I
alternated between the three, and then after a while, like on the second lap, I'm like, yeah, you needs help, and then I started paying attention to him a bit more.
If I ever play this game again, which I will never, I will try to get someone else. I think this is a good time to talk about the battle system. So this is probably where we differ the most. And I'm going to just have a spiel here. You refute me, interrupt me as much as you feel like to tell me how wrong I am. Okay?
Okay. Start spieling, Mr. Spieler.
I'm going to spiel. So it's like Battle Network, but unnecessarily complicated. Is kind of how I feel about it in a nutshell. You're still on a grid, and it's like the attack patterns don't make any real logical sense. You either have to memorize them or just keep constantly looking back in your menu. Okay, am I on the right fucking thing? You know what I mean? But by the time you move to the right square, oh, I need to be one over, then the guy can fucking attack you because it's still real time somehow?
Well, it's not real time. Everybody there's always turns passing by. It's just, it's not unlike a mystery dungeon game, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, where everything you do is a turn.
Yes, but it took me like 5 chapters to figure that out. I started thinking about it like a mystery dungeon game, but it took me more than half the game.
I don't know how the original game handled it, but I feel like you could always tell when you highlighted an attack where the grids were going to go, what grids would be affected when it pops off.
Yes, but if I'm not on the right square, then I can't move down to the correct square sometimes without the boss or whoever attacking me, because it's my turn, but now it's their turn, but they get to attack me. I think that's what I hate the most. I feel like it should be like this. If it's your turn, then it's your fucking turn. give you a set amount of movement squares to move, almost like a strategy RPG, and then let you attack. The fact that someone else can get a devastating shot off because you're trying to reposition yourself because you don't remember what the fucking wackadoo attack squares of the thing you're trying to do is, like, God forbid you memorize those, that's shitty. That feels really bad.
I feel like a good chunk of that is just memorizing what the characters actually do along the way. Not memorizing, but just getting a feel for what they look like and how they behave. Like, even back in the caveman chapter, you had these jump moves that took an additional turn to load. But I wouldn't try that on, and did extra damage, but I wouldn't try that on the little monsters that zip around. I'd try that on the big ass things that took up extra squares and didn't move very much. That's the sort of thing you need to negotiate for when playing this sort of thing. And I sort of get that. But again, I live in squares and tiles. We all know I'm in strategy land, and I'm just used to thinking that way.
I just feel it's just layers of stuff that doesn't add anything. I feel like this game would lose absolutely nothing if it were a traditional Final Fantasy-ass turn-based thing. I feel like it would lose nothing.
I guess they needed to think of something with all the different designers they had around, and maybe just turn-based just felt a little stale at the time.
Well, fuck it. I'll go to my example right now. In Twilight of Edo Castle, what we're about to talk about, that boss never fucking hit me. Because all I did was interrupt his, like, a big attack that he kept trying to do over and over. He never tried to do anything else. So I attacked him with the main character, Obo Maru. And my helper, my British Japanese helper, kept, like, stun locking him out of his move. So he never scratched me. Like, how is that a climactic boss battle to a chapter? Like, why would they let me do that? I don't know. I just think stuff like that is honestly kind of sloppy.
I'm just remembering having a bit of a harder time with that one than you.
But that's it too. You probably didn't use that move, and you better damn well have exactly what they want you to, or you're dead.
I feel like if you used items and things, it wasn't that tough to navigate.
If you have them, yeah, most of the time, I mean, look, most of the time you do in what we're about to talk about right now, Twilight of Edo Japan, you certainly don't. You gotta admit that. Did you have another orgasm on the air? You shouldn't do that on the air.
No, this is me where I have to admit this might not be the best scenario.
Yeah. This is the worst. I'm going to go off here, guys. So batten down the hatches. You say whatever you want to say real fast before I lay into this piece of shit.
It's the one where you're a ninja and we got to rescue a political prisoner, but try not to kill so many people or kill so many people. The decision is in your hands.
Except it's not.
Except not really, because the stealth doesn't work very well.
This sucks, Steve. This flat out sucks.
It did not take me too long before I just started resorting to killing everybody I could find.
It does, and I've talked about this before on the show. It does my least favorite thing in video games, which is make you a badass character, in this case, a fucking ninja, and then make you feel like a joke, an absolute piece of shit. Weakling. It's the worst. These enemies can straight up one-shot you if you go down the wrong hallway, including someone I was supposed to kill to get a key for a door. And by the way, wasn't I supposed to have a choice whether to kill people or not? Apparently I don't, because I have to kill this guy to get a key. So if there's another key in the castle and someone's about to say, oh, why didn't you just go over here? I'm sorry, I didn't fucking explore the 140 rooms of this fucking place.
There's something like 8 floors to this place, and they don't give you a real map for you to like I would have figured like on the first or second floor you would have like been able to finagle a map and try to stealth your way through that way if that's the way you wanted to go, but they do not help you out at all.
Yeah, they really don't. And if they don't one-shot you, they're so ridiculously powered that taking them down feels like luck. Like, I like hard RPGs. We talked about Shin Megami Tensei 5 on this show. You know, a game we both love, but I don't like unfair ones. Like, and this is straight up not fair, especially if you're not going to offer me anything else in the level design department except confusion. Like you said, there's 8 floors. I don't even necessarily mind the lack of a map, but like around every corner, something can just kill you. It sucks. Give me a clue how to fight back. Like that guy who had the key, he was weak to like shurikens or something. I didn't have that move. Why would I know to level up before I get there to have that move? Yeah, you can get a couple of items to like throw stuff at him, but like, what if you don't have those? You're fucked.
I mean, I guess the idea was to use your turns to sneak up behind him, because you do more damage if you can get behind him that way. But there's a good chunk of the time where the guy can move long before you can slip behind him and do a stabby stab. And, you know, again, we're supposed to be a ninja.
Yeah. But you feel like a piece of shit. Whoever designed this and thought this was fun, like, never do level design again or scenario design again. This sucks. This was awful. I remember when we talked about the demo version and Kevin was really put off by this. And I was like, because I didn't encounter any of the bullshit because they don't really let you play that much, the demo. So I was like, I don't know, it was fine. Yeah, I ran into a couple hard things, but I didn't like get wrecked by anything. Boy, I sure did now. I know exactly what he's talking about now. I apologize, Kevin. Holy shit.
Did you manage to help anybody in jail? Because there were about 1 million cells, and I think I only opened 2 of them.
The 2 I opened, they turned into monsters and attacked me. So, and one of them killed me too. So, yes, but no, they were bad.
I got 1 monster, but then I found legendary thief Goman. Oh boy, this is cool, right? He's like, hey, thanks for helping me out. I'll totally help you out later. So is he gonna like join my party and be another guy, someone to wave in front of other enemies so that I get hit a little less along the way? Maybe he'll show up at the last possible second for the final boss fight. That might be funny, but no, we fucking never see him again.
What a son of a bitch. Just like Goemon.
Fucking owes me money. Jackass. As Andre mentioned before, our political prisoner is a very Japanese man with a very British accent. Oi, guys, it's a brand new day for Japan, isn't it?
Yeah, he's not joking. It is straight up Cockney. Like, it is ridiculous. Look, considering the very obvious European localizations window, I guess they can't do the Asian accent voice without sounding like really bad and getting canceled. At the same time, they didn't have to make them all sound like they just, I don't know, they're from Liverpool.
They found 4 Asian actors to do Imperial China. Finding one more to be our political prisoner shouldn't have been a bridge too far.
I guess so. I don't know. Maybe that political prisoner went over to... No, Japan, you weren't allowed to travel outside the country in that time, huh? Never mind.
This was it was just at the time where they were opening travel.
Yeah. Anyway, shitty chapter, absolutely worst part of the game. Let's talk about, I'm just going to guess, you also think this is one of the best parts of the game, Wild West.
Absolutely, and I kind of wish there was more, but...
Well, let me start off by saying that the excellent cinematic shots of the buildings and stuff of the town, like using like the quote unquote real camera, not just like the overhead, like you're playing a 2D game camera, were great. You know what I mean? They really treated it like it was like a real 3D game. You got there? Did you take notice of that? Because I did. That was striking.
Yeah, the whole, not just the 3D game, it felt like a Western. We opened to a gunfight between the Sundown Kid and Mad Dog, which are just the most incredible. We made this game in 1994 and don't want to rip everyone off names we could possibly come up with.
Did they just pull those off the posters and like Sunset Riders or something?
They had to have done something like that. And we have a great cast in the town, but when you boil it down, it's a tower defense game. You have to run around town and get everyone some stuff and block the town from the Raiden invaders. This is easily the shortest chapter, or at least one of them, if you play it smartly enough. And I kind of wish it was longer.
I think it's the right length. I do think probably present day is shorter if you want to get real technical, but
I feel like maybe we could have used like another 1 or 2 waves of like false calls or something, because there's that whole storyline of the cowardly sheriff, and he gets brave awfully quick. It would have been, I don't know, maybe nice to see some more bickering with the townsfolk, maybe some more self-doubt along the way. But everyone rallies in real quick.
His kid was ruthless, though. My father, the sheriff, the coward.
Well, to be fair, they all kind of rail on him. Even the mariachi trio is kind of like, we're all kind of just here, aren't we?
Yeah, but like the kid, I mean, like imagine getting like pwned by your own kid that way. I mean, he's just like, and he didn't even say anything like, watch your mouth, Brad. He just kind of hung his head like, yeah, I'm a piece of shit.
All the citizens are in this saloon.
Yeah, because where else would they be? This is great. I love this chapter. Charming, involving, full of character. I remember everybody. It's not quite the Hateful Eight, but it's full of all the crude dialogue you would want from the era, except, there's decidedly less N-word than the Hateful Eight, which is to say none. But
did you really expect there to be any in 1994 or the 2022 remake?
There was no black people, so there was no reason to use the N-word.
Okay, speaking of naughty bits, did you investigate Annie's room during the setup time?
Yes.
Man, there was a lot of that in the 90s.
Oh boy. I mean, like, that would be one of those things, if they actually localize this, that would not be in ours at all. They'd be like, you found Annie's favorite t-shirt.
Right. I still remember in Mario RPG when they did that, and you go to Toadstool's room, it's like, you found Peaches, huh? And then the matron's like, hey, get out of there.
Hey, what? I wasn't doing anything. It's a me, Mario.
I don't even talk like this yet.
Speaking of I never really thought of as tower defense, but I guess in a way it is. Setting all the traps was fun. But, like, there's a trap where you can set a carrot up, so when the guys ride into town, the crazy bunch, the horse stops to munch on the carrot and the guy gets pitched off his horse. That's all well and funny and whimsical, but why did it take him, like, half the day to set the carrot trap? He was really digging for that carrot, like, until damn near sundown.
It's like Jurassic Park. You got to set it just so, because the horses have, that limited tunnel vision, and they might not see the carrot. You got to make sure the horse sees it. It doesn't matter if the bandit riding in sees it.
The bad guys show up. Whatever, you kill the bad guy. Blah blah blah. I'm sorry though. I gotta say, when you kill him, his dead corpse, turns into a fucking horse and like gallops away, and then the townspeople very gravely philosophize about why that happened. I'm willing to buy a lot in a JRPG, but no. Like, Steve, what was that?
Look, I don't fucking know either, okay? Over there, you're sounding a little hoarse yourself. Maybe we need a break, huh?
We're back. I watered my horses. I watered my ducks. Did you water any of your animals, Steve?
My dog is still watered.
What about do you have any ducks?
Not on site, no.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about present day Again, I wish this had years, but we can just assume 1994.
94.
But also looking out over that, like, whether it's Tokyo or whatever, that skyline from his apartment or whatever, man, that's a 90s ass like city shot, right?
It's a 90s scenario too, because it's all boss battles framed like a fighting game.
It's a fighting game, like straight up. Like you select your next opponent and you see their moves and they talk shit to you. It's amazing. It's incredible. It is a fighting game. And if for 1994, that's, the height of, like, everyone was making fighting games. That must have been really funny to see.
And this wasn't the only place Square was doing it either, because I know Andre hasn't played it, but Final Fantasy VI had Sabin with his Blitz moves, where you had to do fighting game inputs to do his moves with those too. So that wasn't the only thing they were doing in fighting game land. But this is a whole other thing too, because in order for him to get stronger, he doesn't get experience. He has to get hit with the special moves from all these fighters. So even just going in and wailing, even if you find like the stun lock that makes them not respond properly, if you want to walk away with their signature moves for later, you need to let them smack you with that shit. It's not unlike being a blue mage in a Final Fantasy game.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the get their moves aspect of it. Usually I don't like stuff that's that gimmicky in an RPG. Oh, let them hit you. Then it, like, I don't know, maybe it's just being scarred by Final Fantasy 2 or something like that. Or it's like they really want you to do wacky shit to build up your defense or other attributes.
It's snappy here. I'm sorry.
But in this short scenario, it works. My favorite was the Hulk Hogan ripoff. I wonder if there was like a specific Mega Man boss order to fight these 7 guys. Maybe.
I know some of them were clearly more reflected by other things that you could have picked up along the way, but I was not figuring that out on my playthrough.
I definitely died to a couple of them. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, that did happen.
Yes, I did too. And then I just picked another one and tried again later.
I forget which guy says this to you, but someone's like, well, if it isn't the mother bleep himself, like it actually bleeped it because they got to preserve that teen rating.
I think that was the American that wasn't Hulk Hogan.
Okay. Yeah, but I was like, okay, rated T for teen. I get it.
He works at the junkyard in Windjammers too. And on his off days.
I thought it was weird at the end when the final bad guy appears. Hey, I killed the other 7 guys off screen because I said so. Now you have to fight me.
Well, he was very Geese Howard.
Okay, but like that was just like, I dug the like aesthetic and like the idea of it, but like the complete lack of context for that made it impossible to connect with. Am I supposed to care that he killed them all? But it also doesn't really pay off. I don't know. I just found it really hard to connect with. I like the chapter, but it's weird.
As a fighting game, it makes sense because think about it. Unless you read the manual or finished every character campaign or watched the accompanying anime OVA, so lacking as context as those all were, there really wasn't a whole lot of story for you to take in just playing a fighting game in the 90s. So in that way, it kind of fits.
Yeah, but then they should have left it maybe just a little more random like a fighting game. They should have just had a few lines of dialogue like, I don't know, like a Street Fighter Alpha when you get to the, in Bison or wherever the boss may be. Maybe like, ha 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 ha, Shadula will take over the world. And then you just fight. I feel like they should have just done that.
I feel like that's kind of what they were trying to do, but still trying to tie the villain in too.
Yeah.
Oh boy, we're going to get into that in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need to address the other elephant in the room. Could our dumb American brains have followed this in 1990, whatever?
I think yes, but just speaking for myself, yes, but I think it would have taken me a very long time to understand. Like the handy dandy map in this game, which I'm sure doesn't exist in the original, is a godsend, telling you exactly where to go. They put a flag and like, here's the golden entrance to get out of here. to go to the next part, because without that stuff, Steve, I think I would honestly hate this game. Seriously. Like, there's no way I would have made it through a fan translation of the original Super Famicom game. Like, maybe if the kid Life Alive would have came out here, it could have shipped with a guide like Earthbound. It's about really the only thing that would have saved it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a secret that back in the 90s, between translation costs and just a generally low faith in American consumers, there wasn't a whole lot of RPG releases from Squaresoft or other companies in general. And the fact remains, if I was a kid renting this game at Blockbuster, because that is how I took in a lot of these games at first, I did rent them a lot of the time before eventually getting them later. My unrefined 9-year-old-ish ass would have, hopped all over the different scenarios like a dumbass instead of playing them through and not really gotten anything out of them. And, this is very much an advanced level RPG as opposed to, what we were getting at the time. So I will be honest and say, no, Child Steve probably would not have gotten Live Alive without some sort of help.
I think I would have been in 1994, I was 12. I would have probably been a scenario hopper. And I think that would have helped me because I would have gone to the Twilight of Edo Japan and been like, this sucks. I would have tried a different thing because there's 7 things. So if I got stuck on anything, I could just play something else. So I probably would have fought my way through the distant future scenario or something like that where you don't have to fight, right? Or I would have gone to the Wild West and it's like, ooh, I can do this or something and come back to the pricklier parts.
Yeah, to be honest with myself, I absolutely would have to.
Yeah. Let's talk about the near future. Because
which, if I'm not mistaken, is only 2 years from now.
Probably. What is this, 1994? This probably is 2027 AD. It's like, well, that's not too far from now. Hey, isn't that Bubblegum Crisis? No, it's 2033. Never mind. Anyway, our psychic character, Akira. Oh my god, his name is Akira.
I've never heard of a psychic character named Akira in my entire life. Have you?
Nope, it's never happened. with spiky red hair. Who else would have hair like that? Look, we finally have our Akira Toriyama character, and his name is Akira. Like, you can't make this stuff up, folks. I mean, come on. Look, I know this is a year before Chrono Trigger where he had the same hair, but come on now. Look at this.
He's like that missing link between Randy from Secret of Mana and Chrono.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, you're totally right.
No, he's a psychic, so he's going to read minds, but he's also got some fun Street Fighter-y moves, but not like Street Fighter present day Street Fighter, but I'm a badass on the streets, and I gotta beat up these guys to uncover the 90s anime conspiracy.
And he says strong words like shit and piss and asshole.
But a lot of 90s anime ethics class in this. Like, what is humanity? Is there too much corruption in law enforcement? Is it unethical to liquefy the essence of 2,000 humans so we can get to the creamy psychic centers and revive our god, and so forth? Yeah, I don't know. This is actually one of the bigger scenarios. Like, there's a whole ass village for you to prowl around in.
I feel like I spent the most time on this, for sure.
Of the original 7, absolutely, because they give you a bit more wiggle room.
Because I haven't done enough speaking about Yoko Shimomura's incredible score in this game. The near future music, there was a time in the mid 90s where every Japanese composer thought jazz fusion would be the future of future. So whenever you have future stuff, that's what it was. It was the same in Chrono Trigger. It was the same if you ever see a futuristic bar or something in Phantasy Star, same kind of music. That's what was going on here. It was swank. It was upbeat. It was incredible. I just kind of wish, and this is a kind of a problem between all the scenarios, there's only a 2 or 3 songs in each, and they just kind of repeat. The music is great, but you just hear them too much because it's not like our RPG where you have these 70 pieces of music that you just kind of plug in wherever.
It's a bit more of a problem here because the scenario is longer, and it might have been good to have like one or two more walking around town tunes. Even if they just played it off as, look at this weird ass Walkman I found from the 20th century. Let's play something else for a minute.
That was one of my favorite things of Shin Megami Tensei 5, where you just look in the vending machines. It's like, oh, here's a mini disc player, whatever. Not a mini disc player, but yeah, it's just like,
I think that wasn't one of them. Like some kind. I think we did find CDs next to the used panties.
Oh yeah, you got to have used panties, or you're not the future unless you have used panties. You can quote me on that.
Speaking of, did you not engage in the? Did you do weird shit in the orphanage with that?
I maybe, but like before you go there, I just want to establish Akira's biker friend Matsu. Aren't they basically just Chrono and Johnny from 2300 AD? Like, I mean, because they look exactly. I mean, I know this is before Chrono Trigger, but come on.
Yeah, this is very much a Hydrox Oreo scenario where, yes, this is technically first, but we're going to draw it to obvious comparisons to the better example.
By the way, I hate that we have said this many words so far, and we have not talked about the robot show intro complete with the song with lyrics. Are you fucking kidding me?
What, you mean there isn't an ancient robot built by an ancient civilization using unknown before today tech lying beneath your city waiting to rise up in times of disaster? I thought we had that shit everywhere, Andre.
That shit was crazy. And I love robot shows, so it hit me right in the right here, right deep down inside. Anyway, yes, I did do some of that orphanage stuff because I think the lady master, I don't know what the orphanage head person is called, but like she like kicked my ass for finding her panties or something like that, or I don't know what the hell the kid grabbed from her room for me, but
it does start off innocuous with things like a keepsake photo frame, but then it escalates into purses and underwear and so on.
Do you like how when you go to Dr. Ochano Misu's house or whatever the old man is, Dr. Light, would use whatever term you want, and he's trying to tell you how to get to the basement to get to the big robot or something. He wants you to do these very precise things. Spin around 3 times, touch my pink elephant, steal the 2 dildos over there, and stick your finger up your butthole, and then the door will open.
All of that shit reads like something that would have been copy protection. Like really bad copy protection, like, I have a way to get into the basement. Just check the manual. How? And then you would have had to get the real life manual, and then that would have given you the instructions like on chapter 37 with the weird things that would not have made sense until you reached this specific point of the game. And then that was going to lock you in that spot if you were a bum like me and you borrowed the game from Blockbuster.
Yeah. My friend, I remember when he let me borrow Metal Gear Solid, he's trying to, just take the case. And it's like, no, I'll just put it in my CD jacket. No. Take the case with you. Just take the case. I'm like, okay. I don't know why you want me to do that. Oh, okay.
Check the back of the box.
He was insisting. I was like, okay, then I got it, right? That is funny, though. It didn't read like that to me, but yeah, I don't know. This was great. He gets the big robot. He beats up the other robot big bad guys. And one of them is called Dr. Livingstill, which is very on the nose. Dr. Livingstill.
Sounds like scrapped AD police bad guy.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Livingstill definitely knows where the sexeroids are buried, huh?
Plot by plot.
This was really cool. I was a little confused by the ending because I was like, because he wakes up on the same bench. I was like, okay, was that a dream or was that like?
I think that was supposed to be the anime-esque. You won because of the power of friendship, and that saved you. Hooray! Thing.
I really liked, just as an aside, I really liked the unique game over screens with their own fonts, and sometimes they have their own scenes. Like in Twilight of Edo Japan, it's like, well, I think he died. Well, I thought he was going to be great. And then it said game over, whatever the fuck, it has like a scene.
Oh, crikey. I ran out of sushi and...
Sushi. It's like he's like turning his head to the side. It's sushi, right? Sushi. I like that. And then they had their own little sayings. They didn't always say game over too, or when you beat the chapter, they had the little thing too. They have their own credit sequences. They have their own. It's great.
I did like all the credit sequences. It made them all feel like the self-contained stories that they were all supposed to be. I already grazed over this in a bunch of chapters before, but something I do have to give the whole game credit for is like, they don't strap a money system on you. That some scenarios have the weird barter system, like in Near Future, where you have to. Yes, it's more straightforward in prehistory, but Near Future has that weird one where you get the pervert stuff from the orphanage or other collectibles and be like, "Hey, Doc, can you do anything with this?" And then you have to wait for the scene to pass, and maybe you get good stuff, or maybe you get garbage.
I did that one time. I don't think I got anything good, and I don't know. I guess you don't really have to do it, but I tried it once just to try it.
Oh, I did it for much longer than I should, and I ended up with way too much equipment for my fun robot turtle friend.
He was great. I do like that they just whimsically set up the whole thing by your kid sister's turtle is dying. Oh, let me put his liquefied essence into a turtle robot. Ta-da! It's your pet turtle still.
That we're going to just take along with us.
Yeah, that she's totally fine with. Just so weird. The whole chapter had such a weird energy, that Near Future. It's just like, is this a joke? Is everything supposed to be? I couldn't tell if it was trying to be sincere or just like completely throwing caution to the wind, or if it's supposed to be a parody of robot shows, I guess, or biker gang shows, like all of the above, I guess.
I like how you go to the bar and everyone's just buzzed out of their minds on, I don't know, Sprite with liquor in it based on the explanation of the one fizzy drink that everyone keeps drinking over there.
Did I go in the bar? Yeah, I did go in the bar.
Well, you had to go to the bar at some point, but even then, they're all just kind of sitting there, except for the bartender who insists on engaging you. The rest of them don't give a fuck. It's kind of funny.
I liked that one attack of Akira's mother's shame. Confuse enemies with thoughts of their mom, so they lose the will to fight. It's like, okay.
What are you talking about, Andre? We do that on this show every week.
Yeah. Mother's shame. Oh my God. If my mom listened to the show, holy shit. She is not allowed to. I would never allow her to hear such shows where I say, fuck.
Yeah, my mom is not podcast savvy, so she's like, oh, that's so nice that you're doing something on your free time.
One of the modern amenities, I already talked about the map system earlier, but there's one you like, Steve.
Yeah, the game saves whenever you change rooms, and because I'm a lazy ass, even though you could just save on your own, most modern portable-ish RPGs now, it's kind of handy, especially when you have the bullshitty chapters where things can one-shot you when you're not ready for it. It's just the little things for me.
This did fuck me over, though, once in the Dominion of Hate, where I had to go to that one stupid dungeon where they do the 8 bells again, like the Wild West, and then once it rings 8 times, the boss attacks you. I was not powerful enough to beat that boss, and it saves still while you're in there, going in and out of every room. So it saved me like 2 seconds before the last bell. So I was stuck fighting that thing, and I had to reload like an earlier save. Now, look, I guess it's my fault for not saving before I went in there, but I didn't know that was going to happen when I went in there.
So, listen, I think I'm sensing that you're a little tense about fighting at this time. So why don't we go all the way to the distant future where there was no fighting?
There was no fighting. And guess what, Steve? This is the first scenario I played. So I didn't fight anything until the boss. We'll get to that in a second. But it's 2001, right? The movie 2001.
Largely, it might as well be. Yeah, your Cube, the ironically named robot, and you are literally born as this segment begins. And you're really just serving as an observer to the rest of the space opera that's unfolding around you. You got a Star Trek's rainbow of color uniformed crew members, a captain, the military passenger, and their cargo, the violent space creature, which is going to break quarantine an hour in and cause even more problems. Something other games would borrow. So even though this game didn't sell too much, other game developers noticed this and stole this later.
That's always going to get me, whether it's Alien or 2001 or this. When Cube discovers Kirk's body is missing, that bass line kicks on. It's the first time you hear any kind of music in the chapter. And it's so ominous. It's like, okay, the mystery is on, right? Because you see his body's gone and it's just here. Not like Jaws or something, but it's like very foreboding. And it's super effective. Like, again, kudos to Yoko Shimomura. She played it perfectly. She understood the assignment, or in this case, the assignments. She nailed it. It was a very oh shit moment.
I mean, there were plenty of those, right? I mean, Cube's perspective being the blank slate that has to be the observer isn't to a story already in progress or a world already established isn't a very new or even unique premise, but it is one that I feel like they were fairly brave to tell on the format of a 16-bit RPG using, just screenwriting techniques like having your monster serve as the red herring for the real monster, which was the AI, or that really cheesy love triangle between the two researchers and the doctor.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, like, that plays into the whole thing pretty well. You know what I mean? It wasn't just there to be there, which if it was, that would be fine too. But just like you said, the AI going rogue, think about how fucking chilling that is. That AI, just from those people on the ship, got the wrong idea about humanity because they were bickering with each other with the love triangle. And whoever there, I guess they were just being shitty to each other in general. They weren't necessarily friends, but they were working together. But the AI doesn't understand camaraderie versus like animosity, and they don't have to be. They can coexist.
I mean, 2001 is still scary today. I mean, have you watched it lately?
I have a Blu-ray. It's been a long time since I watched it, but I mean,
having the AI turn is just scary. Although, speaking of AI, they do give you an evil cube to do with, and they do the also equally cheesy. I can't tell which cube is which, and they do that funniness too.
Someone had to look back through the chapter, the memory banks to remember that his original name was Roundy and not Cube.
I had to do that because this was also in the demo. And there was a lot of lead time for me playing this and then going back to it in the actual game. So I too forgot that his name was Roundy.
Yeah.
By the time I hit this point in the story, I do wonder if that memory bank was in the original game or if they really were like, oh, fuck, what was his name?
That is one thing I would love to go see again. I haven't really looked at the SNES version or Super Famicom version too much, but yeah. But again, this is the first scenario that I played, so imagine how weird it was for me to not fight the entire chapter and to culminate in that wild vaporwave battle on the Captain. What is it? Captain Fuck Off? What's the video game they play?
Oh, it might as well
Captain
be called
Asshole.
It might as well be called Captain Asshole because it was something very cheesy. Something. I think this was the time where Square Enix was, Squaresoft was very much, feeling the pressure from whatever everyone else was doing because this guy was very much Captain Asshole. It's an old video game from 1994. And we're keeping it on the ship.
Yeah, and we're going inside of it to fight the vaporwave battle against the boss, which to that like incredible song that was very fitting. Imagine my disappointment when I found out that's just a general boss theme. That was so fitting for that stage, but then it's just like, oh, we use that for everything. Okay.
This is going to be my one thought out music opinion where I say, I thought it would have been great if for this remake, they use the same, leitmotif for the song, but use different instruments indicating what time period you were playing it in, just to keep it fresh.
That would have been very cool. By the way, speaking of time period, did you like how the battle theme for Prehistory was like some Spanish guitar thing, which they absolutely did not have back then?
Okay, but it was really good, though.
Yeah, it was great. It's just that, like, that was not how music sounded at all.
How do you know? You weren't there. How do you know that you weren't there? This was the one with the Flintstones cars. Come on, maybe they got they're feeling the samba too. Who knows?
I'm pretty sure the only ones who had instruments in the Flintstones was the movie, the BC-52s. Remember?
Oh my God.
I thought that was so funny. Like, I'm a B-52s guy still to this day, one of my favorite bands of all time. So that was still, just thinking about that now is really funny. Anyway, they were the only ones allowed to have guitars. No, this, if not the Wild West, Distant Future was my absolute favorite. In fact, I'm just going to say it. It was my absolute favorite. The only thing I could have done without is the general, the military guy being like, I'm racist towards robots because they killed my friends, as if we haven't heard that a million times. Like, that was a little trite. Other than that,
I'm willing to give that a slide, if only because of when this originally came out. If this was an original game from 2022, I would be on your side saying, come on, do better.
Yeah, we haven't. I mean, when's the last time we were allowed to do that? Xenoblade?
And even then, they were. That was just a crutch to, be better on the other side.
Yeah, the characters grew from that, so it was a thing. Nobody grows on this ship except the AI, who's like, well, humanity's shitty. Let's just,
I've already infected every computer. There's no way you'll go in through with a 1994 video game. Whoops.
Oops. That was my only weakness. Okay. We've done the 7 scenarios. We're going to talk about the rest of the game, but we have a lot to say. So we're going to take a break first. Be right back. We're back. We're refreshed. Have a sip of your favorite beverage. Do we still do that in commercials? I feel like we don't do that.
Not as much as we used to, no.
Yeah. We used to be a society, Steve.
We used to be a society, Andre.
So after completing the 7 scenarios, you unlock the Middle Ages. Did you have any guesses before you saw it was called the Middle Ages and before you even played all the scenarios? Did you have any guesses to where all of this was going, if at all?
I figured we had to do something at the end of this. I didn't think we were going to just roll the credits at the end of all this and be like, thanks for playing Live Alive. We'll look forward to the next hit title from Squaresoft.
Like Octopath, where you just do the 8 scenarios and it's like, bye.
Unless you want to come back and do the bullshit post-game.
I attempted it once and then never again, so I just looked it up.
But I certainly didn't expect the Middle Ages.
Yeah, I didn't know what to think about that. Again, this game doesn't give years or anything, so this Middle Ages can be God knows when. But obviously, I figured we were in for some sort of cosmic entity between time. I mean, you had to have been, right? And that's exactly what it was. I just didn't know what kind of form or forms it would take. But if you're going to go through not recorded history, if you're going to go through the history of the Earth like this, then come on.
This is where we seem to have some contention. Did you pick up on the audio trend before this point?
No, I didn't. Okay. The last, and I'm being indignant up front because I'm almost positive you fucking did, because you're such a smarty pants. Oh, I saw all the signs. Aren't you so dumb, Andre? Didn't you just see their names all started with O and they said D-O and O-D-O-E-O-E-O? You dummy. Is that what you're thinking right now?
I mean, I wasn't going to say you were a dummy, but
but you're a dummy.
And I'm still not going to say you're a dummy, but while 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern. And like you just said, they were all some form of blank O at the end. Even the near far future, which is when I put it together, that was the third one I cleared, and it was like OD-10. I'm like, this is it. This is the thing.
I didn't pay attention to anyone's names. That's my fault, really. I didn't care. Well, here's the thing. The last scenario, as I said, I did was Wild West, and his name is O-D-O. O.D.O, like a fucking Capcom beat 'em up. But then you get in here, and his name is Odio, and it's like, okay. But honestly, if it wasn't the Wild West thing that I played last, I may or may not have remembered that his name was Odio. So whatever. I'm a big old dummy. Okay, fine. Jeez.
I mean, I feel like all the ones with voices anyway, all kind of shouted it. I mean, even the far future, not the far future, the near future, they were waking up Odio. And they kept shouting it again and again. Odio, wake up for us.
Okay, Steve, I'm stupid. Okay, fine. I got it. Okay, I'm dumb.
You're not dumb.
I mean, you're only being nice to me on the air in front of company.
Okay, you want to know what is dumb? The Middle Ages, as presented to us by Live Alive.
By the way, the title screen song, it just starts playing. That's the theme of the Middle Ages when you get there.
It was there in front of us the whole time.
Yeah. Nice touch, honestly. That is a neat trick.
So
set the stage here, then we can bitch.
Of course.
Real fast.
Yeah. You are Orsted, Knight of the Kingdom, and you have to beat you're in a tournament, and you fight your friend Strelbo, the mage, for a contest of Hand of the Princess. This is very much a projected alternate draft to Final Fantasy IV. I feel like Orsted's already got all his moves. Strelbo's got all his moves already, and the only reason why Strelbo is considered worse than Orsted is because the story says he is.
Did I play Final Fantasy IV? Which one is that one?
You're the Dark Knight Cecil, and you have this,
yes.
And you got Kane the Dragoon, who's jealous of you at every turn.
Yes, I played Final Fantasy IV Advance. It's the only SNES Final Fantasy I played, I think. So, if you remember this, in the Wild West, before the Crazy Bunch comes, there's that kid and his father trying to get in the village. And he's like, Dad, come here, or something like that. And it's like, oh, we're so parched. We need to go in that. And then the Crazy Bunch kind of kills his dad and just runs him over. And he's like, Dad, the same thing happens in the Middle Ages after you do the 2 duels. Orsted and Strabo, some kid is like, my father, because I guess you were dueling one of his father, I guess. The same thing happens. Did you notice that? Because like,
maybe it's foreshadowing or trying to do the pretentious George Lucas in the year 1996 thing. Like poetry, it rhymes.
Yeah, but what was the poetry? I don't know. So like,
no one knows what the poetry is. It's just something he says because he has more money than we do.
What was the point? Is that supposed? Did I miss that? I'm asking you. Did I miss something? Like, is that supposed to be some sort of symbol? I mean, because it's never brought up again.
I guess that's to their attempt to inject some flavor into this thing, because right after the tournament, you're married right away, right? And then your princess is kidnapped by the Dark Lord. They might as well be having a picnic outside in the graveyard.
It's Dark Fact. Can we just call him Dark Fact? Because that's who it is. It's Dark Fact. This is what they chose, okay? We beat all scenarios to do regular basic bitch JRPG in. That's what they wanted us to do. Okay? Don't question your game of the year.
Yep. Hey, no game is perfect, as our friend of the show might say on another show. But,
so I want to bring up something to you because we're sort of having related ideas, but not really. So let me say this, and you can say whatever you want. Is there some sort of meta statement this game is making by having the final chapter be what is a very standard JRPG, like medieval kings, castles, swords, and sorcery, right? Kidnap princess, a dark lord, a fallen hero. You get thrown in jail even. Like a JRPG, right? It's hitting all the beats. But as like the other chapters, it's not a full game. It's just kind of a 4-hour thing. So you're condensing all that stuff of like 25, 30 hours of JRPG plot into 4. What do you take away from that? Because like I was kind of thinking it was implying that the world of JRPGs is quote unquote real. And the other time periods we saw were part of this continuous world that also affects it. Am I thinking like way too much about this?
I don't know if you're thinking way too much about this, but I do have a wildly different opinion of yours that's far more cynical.
Okay.
Wherein, look, we've already touched upon Squaresoft 1994 might have been feeling the pressure from the rest of the industry at this point. Here in America, yeah, we had a bunch of RPGs that we consider classics today. Some we like more than others, but in Japan, there were RPGs all over the fucking place. And there was a lot of shit. We even got one of them in Tecmo's Secret of the Stars. Lord, may it never come on Super Nintendo Switch Online.
I'm honestly surprised it hasn't.
It's that bad. If they did, they can't. They just can't. Tecmo's got it locked in a cursed box somewhere. It's not very good. But more than that, even licensed properties were like getting in on this. Like we got licensed side scrollers here in America. They had licensed RPGs. I'm pretty sure Sailor Moon has 2 of them.
I think so.
So in that lens, I think it's easy to imagine the more jaded of Squaresoft writers having an axe to grind with this climate. So, things like that opening fight, wedding and kidnapping, that's 10 minutes that could have been literally any other game. And, you're sent off on your quest and you step out into the very bare bones town that you can't go into at all. It's just it's the same 3 or 4 NPCs copy pasted. And if you talk to anyone, they're all like, yeah, you could do it, hero. Come back safe.
Do you like how that one guy literally gives you his shirt off his back? Like they animated him taking off his shirt and giving it to you.
That was more effort than most of this chapter because there was just featureless passageways going nowhere else but the places you had to go. It's like an RPG Maker game. Sorry. Whoa. People that make those out there. I'm sure you're doing fine. It's like a facade of a scenario as opposed to the other ones. But Steve, all games are facades of scenarios. But you heard us pretty much like the other 7 games for things that they tried. This was framed together in such a way that it's like held together with the 16-bit equivalent of duct tape and prayer. There's no elegance to any of it at all. Even at the end where we finally are supposed to sort of see how all these ODOs tie together, it just sort of happens because it's supposed to, not because there was any greater point it was trying to make at all. Unless we want to use big brain energy or lazy big brain energy and say, sometimes that's all it takes.
I
become so numb. Okay.
Wow. No. I think I slightly disagree with the fact that this is thrown together. It feels that way, and it does feel like a facade of a scenario. But I honestly think that's purposeful. Not because they were lazy. I think they were really trying to go for, okay, we did all the wacky shit. Now we're going to get very conventional on purpose so we can set up the next thing. Like, I feel like they needed this sort of intermediate step to get to the Dominion of Hate, which isn't good either. But like,
no, they needed that step, but it just feels so cynical on purpose.
I think it has to be, though. I mean, if you're going to set up the Dominion of Hate, you can't go straight there. You got to have this step. And it has to be after the other 7 scenarios. It can't just be 8 scenarios and you pick this one.
No, you can't.
You know?
No, this was just an observe. I mean, I don't hate it outright, but it's just hard to. It sticks out in that way, and yes, it absolutely needed to be after the other 7. It's the only one with outright random encounters.
Yeah, that's how conventional it is.
Like even the other ones, you can like sort of like okay, they appear on the map, and then you see the exact layout or whatever. But here they literally, and then you have the battles.
Yep. So basically, how they set this up, if you want to go through it real fast, so we can get to the end here.
Straybell fakes his death so he could trick you into killing the king. He gets you exiled. And oh boy, do those 3 or 4 townspeople lined up in a row turn on you real fucking fast. You gotta walk around all over the place again to really drive the point home that, oh boy, aren't you a fuck up. You go back to the other guy's grave, he's like, what have I done? And then you gotta go kill Straybell for real. Only to have the princess, what's-her-name, kill herself in fright in front of you. And then Orsted lets the hate flow through him and becomes the real Odio.
Basically, Orsted was like, I was bullied online for 3 days, so I'm racist now. Like one of those guys. So I'm Odio now because I guess that's a name you've heard before in other scenarios, unless you're me. I wanted you to say that so you get here. When you go through the castle and see... Wait a second. A literal light bulb just went off over my head. Now, you're going to tell me I'm stupid, but I just now thought of this. Was the old hero and the old man wizard supposed to be old Strabo and old Orsted? Was that what was going on? Who joined your party?
If it was, that would have been way too smart for the scenario they wrote.
I just thought of that. See, I thought you were going to tell me, yes, Andre, you big dummy. That's what it was supposed to be.
Because they didn't fight Odio before. They fought like a dragon.
Right.
That lived in that same dominion, but they've gone on a similar quest to yours where they had to rescue a princess, but not it was not the search for Odio. Okay.
Because that just hit me and I was like, oh my God, if that was supposed to be the thing the whole time, I am really stupid. But no, okay, I'm glad you didn't think that either.
That would have been very smart and some decent foreshadowing, but no.
Right. Anyway, what I was saying was, what did you think when you saw the 7 statues of the 7 bosses? By the way, yes, maybe I should have thought of like O.D. Wan Lee or whatever his name was, and like all the other ones. Yes, when you put them all in front of my stupid face, yes, I understand they're all ODO names. Okay, geez. No, I don't have a complex about it, I promise. What did you think? Any further theories sprung from that, or it's like, oh yeah, here's the 7 bosses?
I mean, I was waiting. I was waiting for that connection across. I keep bringing up Chrono Trigger, but yeah, I was waiting for, where's Lavos with the evil thing that's connecting this shit together? Where is he? When's this finally going to come in? And they kind of just shoved it in there because, as you said, we all were mean to him for a few minutes.
Yeah.
we a few lines of dialogue could have, corrected a lot of what happened in medieval times.
My post about Overwatch got -13 downvotes on Reddit. I am now racist. I don't know why I keep making him racist. So I want to say though, it was a cool ending. I like that it was like a dark ending. You knew that wasn't like the end, but I did like that it happened that way. That was a nice little setup, even if the payoff wasn't worth it, at least not for me. But this chapter, this Middle Ages, has a beautiful main theme that would eventually become a leitmotif for like basically the rest of the game. You'd hear variations on that song for the rest of the time, which was pretty late in the game to introduce something like that. But honestly, it's one of the best pieces of work I have ever heard by Yoko Shimomura. Seriously, that was excellent stuff to hear. It almost makes me want to go back and hear the SNES version to hear like what it may have sounded like if they went that far with it. But excellent work by her.
Yeah, imagine us being the professional podcast that looked into this sort of thing.
No, we don't need research. We don't need to do that. We play the video game and we talk about the video game.
We play the game we got, not the one that's...
Okay, so as we talked about, the Minion of Hate, then you get to pick one of the 7 characters to go forward with. We picked the same character, Steve.
Sundown Kid, baby. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay.
You got to say motherfucker after that. You can't.
Okay. Sundown Kid. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay, motherfuckers.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought maybe you'd go, honestly, I would have pegged you for like a, what's his name? Present Day, the fighter or something like that. But
well, I thought about that, but then I remembered he had a bunch of, by the time the chapter was over, he had those piercing moves, and I thought that would help while I was on my own.
Man, this is kind of a mess. So in this chapter, you know, obviously evil wins, so everything's fucked up, everyone's gone, you're trying to restore a world that's, you know, gone by or whatever. And they want you to run around and find other party members from the different ages. But it's not exactly clear where they are or why you would want them, because they don't tell you anything. And every encounter is a bitch. Oh my God. When you'd get dropped in there, Jesus Christ.
They all vary in level. It's weird. You can, they're all either piss easy or ludicrously tough right from the get-go, especially when you get closer to the individual characters' trials, I think they call them.
Jesus Christ. And by the way, what Steve just said, I feel like that's a microcosm for the whole game. Everything is piss easy or way too hard. I haven't really been complaining about the battle system since we talked about Twilight of Edo Japan. Just rest assured, I kind of hated it the whole game. There's just no need for me to bitch about it every chapter. But like, this is how I felt the whole time. And then when you get here, it's really bad. And like you said, those asshole dungeons, like, it is just not smartly designed. I understand what they were going for. Like, I really do. They want you to explore this world and figure out what's going on. And you eventually do, but it's too hard sledding. Like, this ain't it. It's a remake's job to fix stuff like this. Like, thank God for the radar that occasionally shows you like points of interest around, because once again, I would never beat this if this were on SNES. Never.
Yeah, this is where I have to start agreeing with you about negative points of the game, because one of the parts I actually enjoyed during the vignettes was the characters didn't gain, some of the characters didn't gain experience or gain different techniques and things in a unique way because of the way those specific chapters were structured. And that was neat in a self-contained structure way. But then they suddenly drop you all in the Dominion of Hate, and they all go, da-da, time to play this like a regular RPG now. I feel like they didn't have faith in their concept that way, especially when Masaru is still level 3 and only has whatever fighting game stuff he learned along the way. So hopefully he got enough shit kicked out of him when you were playing.
And if you didn't, tough titties to you, man. And that actually goes along with the other major complaint I've had about this game, is that there is nothing I hate more than when games give you choices that aren't actually choices, because you can choose the wrong thing. There is a wrong choice. Don't give me a choice if there's a wrong thing to do. Respect what I chose. Like, I'm fucking sorry you gave me the choice to kill Orsted at the end, and I got a shitty ending for my, like, 25, 30 hours of play. Like, why did you let me do that? Like, fuck you. Like, how about don't let me do that? Or like a real video game, like, smartly telegraph is probably a little strong. Show you along the way, hey, this might be the way you want to go if you want to get that ultimate salvation at the end. Like, so you're actually prepared for the moment instead of fucking reading their mind of what they want you to do.
This is where I started throwing up all kinds of saves because I emptied that room and I started getting the wrong kinds of flags. So I'm like, I better fucking save because this has already been a very fucked up chapter along the way. And Lord help me, yeah, I did kill him that first time, but then I reloaded the save and didn't kill him that second time. And then they make you walk out halfway across the palace before. Oh, God.
Yeah. It's like, come on, man. Like, I'm supposed to know that I'm like, they want me to do that?
I gotta say, if I was making this game or remaking this game, I think I would have just made the Tower of Hate be the end game. Like you pick your 4 favorites and the tower structures it around those 4 whatevers and your 4 characters and it's based around their skill sets around that way, and you make it to the top that way, and then save something like the Dominion of Hate for as a post-game scenario, because that's what that feels like, right? We have games that come out today, and then after you finish the game, it has all these asshole. Dragon Quest in particular has plenty of. Will typically hand you an asshole dungeon or 3 at the end when you're done with everything. If you want more Dragon Quest to do,
did you try the one in 8? Oh my God! I barely did any of that.
Yeah. No, I'm not doing that anymore. but that's what that felt like, especially the Trial of Keys that I forget his name right now. The Twilight of Japan scenario guy has, where you got to beat up these guys, but they're probably going to one-shot you and get keys and run through other doors.
It sucks. It sucks. Like I get it. I get they were trying to make fun little dungeons to do and whatever, but it's just like none of that stuff comes together. It's too difficult. It's too obtuse. It sucks. And I know I've been mentioning Shin Megami Tensei 5 a little bit here and there during this. I'm going to mention it again one more time. I'm not going to go into specifics here because I don't want to spoil that game for anyone who hasn't played it. Though, if you want to hear spoilers for that game and our thoughts on it, there was a podcast maybe a few months ago we did on Shin Megami Tensei 5. You can check that out. But just speaking in general terms here, Steve, you'll agree, Shin Megami Tensei 5 respects what you choose, no matter what you choose. It fully basks you in that choice that you make.
Yes.
And you choose and you get to see that decision play out to the nines. So fuck this game. Live Alive. Like, if it wasn't for the purposes of this discussion where I wanted to see the quote unquote real ending, just be able to talk about it, I wouldn't have even done it. I would have never looked up how to do it. I would just delete this game and say, well, thanks for wasting my fucking time. It is not hard to respect the player, TLDR.
Did you go through all the rigmarole to get the new ending?
What does that entail?
Wherein you do all the trials, get the super special equipment, and then you, Odio Prime, or whatever his name is, lets the hate flow, tries to make the hate flow through the guys in the final battle, but then the other 3 show up to
I did that.
do backup. Mm-hmm. And then you do the thing, and then Orsted's allowed to redeem himself at the last possible second with a final kind of redeeming stab, and
yep.
I did my fucking God.
Look, I did it. It's cool though, but it don't hide that from me under such obtuse layers of fuck. I'm sorry. Like, respect me. Respect my time. Don't make me do something like that. I'm sorry. I just thought that was bullshit. I'm really glad you did too. I was hoping you wouldn't come in here. Well,
it's wonderful actually to be fucked up the ass with all the shurikens at once.
It was cool seeing that stuff, but like, by the way, did you like how that first audio form was like the 2 big eyeballs and the mouth or something? It straight up looked like the emojis. I think I was jokingly sending them to you.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know why they could move independently from each other. That was weird.
Yeah, I guess that's the power of hatred through the ages.
Okay, let's just get to the end here, conclusion wise. I think you already know what I think, but I'll just put it this way. Unusual RPGs are best when they play around with convention. and your expectations to bring you something unique, like Earthbound. That's why we like Earthbound, right? It's basically Dragon Quest. But you have the rolling HP. You have like a bevy of psychic attacks that are strange and weird and funny. You have attacks that seemingly don't do anything until they do. You have items like hamburgers and French fries, right? It's playing with those very strict RPG conventions of the time, the oldest of the old conventions, but putting a spin on it to make something that nothing else could ever touch. Nothing will ever be Earthbound, not even another Earthbound game. Live A Live has no convention at all. It is beholden to nobody and nothing. It just throws caution to the wind. Then that's what makes it really hard to connect with. I enjoyed a lot of aspects of it, as you've heard throughout this, and like some scenarios were actually really great, but there was a reason why this was initially a flop in Japan, because it deserved it. Like, this is not one of those like, oh man, those localization travesties of the time we talk about, whether it's Terranigma or Trials of Mana or games that we never got here, Mega Man and Bass. I feel like nobody ever puts Live A Live in that category, and it doesn't deserve it to be. I'm glad it came out now. I didn't hate it, but again, there was too many scenarios where they did not respect me as a player, and I can't get over that.
Well, listen, because I'm an adult, I will have to agree and say you are objectively correct. But I can't write it off. I just can't. I feel like the seven scenario, okay, well, 6 of them, let's be honest, Twilight of Japan sucked, were a very strong package in itself. But I would be also lying if I didn't admit to a bit of nostalgia playing into my enjoyment of the game as a whole. It was those summer muggy nights with my Super Nintendo AO plugged into my Zenith in my room with the din of the air conditioner. I'm trying to unravel this game that no one else is understanding of it but me. We're kind of relived for a few weeks there while I was playing the game. And I can't, and yes, when we go at it like this, I can't say you need to rush out there and go get it, because there is a lot of 1994 bullshit in that last act that we just went over. And it is all very valid and very annoying, and I don't want to do it again either. But if you believe yourself out there to be an RPG enthusiast, and it's on one of those Square Enix sales that they like to do around Christmas, I'd say it's worth picking up.
Yeah, I will say that. I don't regret my, what was this, $50? I don't regret it. I got $50 worth of entertainment. There was a lot of annoying stuff, as I said, but it's hard to recommend. But I definitely didn't hate playing this by any means. There was just too many annoying things to like fully recommend as a game. But no, I got a lot out of this. I will never forget Yoko Shimomura's Western theme. Yeah, it's the typical Western thing with the lead whistle sound or whatever, but man, it's an effective one. I'll tell you that much.
And now that I'm really thinking about it, it's kind of weird that they never made a Western JRPG here. I feel like that would have been the attempt to pander to us.
Like, are you saying a Japanese company making a Wild West RPG?
Yes.
That is Wild Arms to a degree, even though it's not strictly a Western. It's still very Japanese, though.
Yeah,
you have a lot of Western.
That also took time to get here, as opposed to this era.
You're right, but like I said, Wild Arms has like Western-ish motif on top, but I would not call it. It's not the Wild West scenario. You're correct.
Steve also needs to play Wild Arms, so yeah,
it's aight. It's fine. All right. I think we talked enough about Live A Live and other assortments. I guess that's about it. Find Time Podcast on Twitter. Look in the bio, Find Time Podcast, to follow me, Steve, or Kevin, who is not here today on this discussion because he doesn't like this stuff, on Twitter. Or look in the description of this podcast to find links to our socials there as well. See you next time, guys. Bye. So before we get to the final scenarios, let's just say this, obviously, after you unlock... I'm going to start completely over. That was a mess.